Hello, this is Tiara,
Hello, this is Ali.
and this is the Goddess Vibration. Welcome. So, we said we were going to be lighter this time because the last couple episodes were like dark, dark. And if you're depressed after listening to those, we are so sorry. I was depressed
Aw.
after reading about that stuff. So, this episode's lighter, and we're going to talk about chakras. And I think this is a needed discussion because there's a lot of like competing information about chakras. Like, is it 7 chakras, 9 chakras, 12 chakras? We've seen some places that it says there's 114 chakras. So we're going to clarify and demystify some of that and talk a little bit more about the chakra systems and the ones you really need to focus on.
Well, chakras is actually one of my favorite topics ever, but I will say that the main 7 are definitely the most important because those are the ones that, are always talked about, always being studied. And to get to the 114, there's specific math involved, and we will try to break that down the best of our ability.
Yes, and it's so interesting because I did a little bit of research on this topic because in my mind, like it's always been 7 chakras, and those are the ones that I know. Those are the ones that I focus on. So when I say the seven chakras, I'm talking about from root to crown, your root, sacral, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye chakra, and then the crown chakra. But if you're talking about a 12 chakra system, then there's apparently chakras that go above the crown, and then there's one that's below the root chakra, right?
Yes, I believe it's the Earth star.
Yeah. Yes. So that's when it starts to get kind of wonky. But Ella's right. Like, if you're going to focus on your chakras, you do want to focus on those 7, the first 7. And it's interesting because on another podcast, we were talking about awakenings and how the type of awakening you have is determined by how the energy comes to the chakras, which I think is so fascinating. So for myself, when I had my spiritual awakening, I had what's called a top down awakening, which means that everything came down the crown chakra. So like I literally woke up one day and just had this massive download of information and was immediately like sent out of the matrix, right? Like I awoke and I was like, whoa, we live in a fucking false matrix. And then just like my life just spiraled after that. Some people have a bottom up awakening, or what's referred to sometimes as a Kundalini rising, where the energy comes through the root chakra. And oftentimes it's precipitated by some type of event that happens in the physical world, like a death or a breakup or something like that. And then it triggers an awakening that goes up through the root chakra and then up to the crown. Which, funny thing, I think Allie's been experimenting with Kundalini. Are you still experimenting with the Kundalini stuff?
I am still yes, I still am, only because I'm determined to get I'm just it's just a personal goal of mine to have my Kundalini awakening, and I am very determined to make that happen.
So I thought this was so fascinating when you were talking about like the meditations associated with that and how you kept seeing a snake, like an actual snake,
It was an actual snake.
like
Yep.
in the meditation.
Yes.
That is wild.
Yes.
That's wild to me.
I haven't tried in a while, but when I was trying, a snake would form because I can see like colors, and sometimes I can see shapes, or I can see like beings, and all of a sudden am seeing this snake head form. And at one point it was like staring right back at me, like the eyes, the tongue. It was like a perfect snake like image. And I was just like, okay, Ali, don't freak out. Don't freak out. You're fine.
Oh my
Snakes
God.
are not exactly my favorite thing in the world, but I will say that like snakes are like very symbolic when it comes to knowledge.
They
And so my
are.
appreciation for snakes has shifted and it's growing.
Yeah.
Um, and so the snake was just staring me down. And it's actually really crazy because, like, you can also feel physical things in the body. Like, I felt knocking in my lower back.
Oh
And
God.
I had this whole conversation with my acupuncturist, and he was like, oh, he was like, the snake was knocking, like he's awakening. And so, like, certain things can happen throughout the body. And, like, if you have a blocked chakra, so I was actually in this meditation, and this is the closest I've ever gotten. The snake was formed. There was knocking in my back. I could feel the snake physically moving up through my chakra, and I had an inkling that my throat chakra was blocked. And so when the
Mm.
snake got to my throat, that's when it stopped. And I was like, "No, this is horrible." And I haven't really tried again since that incident, but once I get the energy, it also takes a lot of energy, you guys. So like once I can rustle up the energy, I'm going to try again.
So the whole concept of the Kundalini awakening and the Kundalini stirrings is so fascinating to me because you were talking about before how you were having like physical sensations in your body, like twitches and like feeling just energy kind of like surging in different areas of your body. And that's what happens when the Kundalini starts moving. Like you just kind of, your body just responds. It's a very, like, the Kundalini rising is a very physical awakening. Like it's literally the body awakening. Um, and it's so interesting because I've read a couple things about this, about how people who oftentimes have sudden Kundalini risings and have no fucking idea what's happening to them. Like, no frame of reference at all that it's a spiritual thing, and they just completely lose their minds. And it's wild that to think that that can happen to people, but it does. Um, so I'm glad that you guys are here to listen to this because some of you guys might be experiencing some of these things and have no freaking idea. If you're experiencing something like that, like just surges of energy in your body and your limbs are moving, or like maybe you're seeing colors. I've heard of people seeing like colors in their body, like just some
I
wild
can.
stuff.
I can.
Like you can see like the colors, the energies in the
Yes.
body. Okay,
Yes.
that's wild. That's wild. Um, but if you are experiencing something like that, it's a good chance that it's Kundalini. So you need to start doing like either Kundalini yoga or find someone who can help guide the energy up to the crown chakra because that's really where it needs to go.
Definitely. It's really cool. I mean, you have to be in a specific like mental space. I have met a few people that are trying to push it through. And if you are not familiar or if you're not skilled, I would not recommend to ever try to push it through. Like, it's
Right.
something that you need to be really patient with. You need to take your time with it. You need to let it flow naturally. Don't try to push it through, especially for those who aren't ready for it. As Tiara mentioned, there is a dark side to Kundalini awakenings, which if you're serious about it, I would definitely do some research if you are trying to push it through. Again, I don't recommend it only because I'm giving this warning because I have read things where psychosis could form if you're not ready for it. Like there are certain mental implications that can come with a Kundalini arising if you're not ready for it.
Mm,
So take caution, do your research. That's all I recommend.
right. That's actually really good advice. Now, I'm not gonna lie. The whole Kundalini thing, I don't know what it is, but there's some aspect of it that terrifies me. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if I'm just a sissy. I have no idea. I just the concept is it's freaky to me. So I try to stick to like, just kind of working with each of my chakras individually as I need to. Speaking of that, I don't think we've actually sat here and defined what the hell a chakra is. Someone could be listening. I mean, for the most part, I think a lot of people do know what chakras are, but we're here to educate. So I think we should at least give a little bit of insight into what chakras actually are and how we can manage them, especially if we're on a spiritual journey, because if you are, you're going to have to manage your chakras. It's just kind of, comes with the territory, at least in my opinion.
Well, it definitely comes with the territory, only because like the chakra system is our universal life force. It's what connects us to other dimensions. It's what connects us to like the divine realm. And they really need to be worked on, because if you have blocked chakras, and it's not only in the 5D aspect, the chakras affect our 3D everyday life. And as we talk about the chakras, like I'm going to explain to you how it affects our 3D everyday life. Because, for example, the sacral is all tied to our like creativity and can be tied to our sexuality. And for example, the solar plexus is tied to like our empowerment, like our power. And so if these things are blocked, like you could be affecting your creativity, which is something you use in your 3D life.
Absolutely. Interesting to note is that most people on this planet live from their lower three chakras. The goal is to actually, you know, get to clearing your upper three chakras too, and so that all your chakras are being used. But most people live from the bottom three, which, I mean, I guess depending on how you look at it, are technically, quote unquote, the lower energies. I don't know that I'd say that. If you're only living from those three energies, okay, I could kind of see why people might say that. But essentially, Ali was referring to the sacral chakra and the solar plexus chakra. Those are two of the lower chakras. The first chakra is the root chakra, and that's the one associated with like your physical world, stability, comfort, that you're taken care of, that you have all your essentials and necessities. And if this chakra is blocked, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna have a really bad time, because you're gonna block things that are associated with your stability and the things that are essential and that you need to survive. So the root chakra is so important. And I know that for me, when I was dealing with like scarcity issues, scarcity mindset, and like issues with financial abundance, it was because of that root chakra being blocked. So I had to work on that. And everyone at some point in their life is going to need to work. I can't say everyone because some people are just, I don't know, blessed into abundance. But a lot of us aren't. So if you're dealing with abundance issues or you're trying to manifest abundance and you're struggling, look at that root chakra because that's going to give you a lot of insight into where the issue might be coming from.
Definitely. I just want to backtrack real quick and explain to you what a chakra is, because sorry, we
were gonna do that. Sorry about that. We get into topics and just like talk and talk and talk and talk, and then like the audience is like, "What? Wait, hold on." Our bad.
So a chakra means, like in Sanskrit, it means a wheel, and it refers to energy points in our body. And so they are thought to be spinning disc of energies that should stay open and align, and they correspond to bundles of nerves, major organs, and areas of our energetic body that affect our emotional and physical well-being. And what's really fascinating about this is because I was actually watching a YouTube on this, and this is the second time I've watched it. But each chakra actually has like a triangle in like a physical triangle, and then around it is a circle. And so that's kind of what keeps it in the wheel. But the triangle point is actually like tied to our energy source, which I thought was so cool. And he used this example where it's like, okay, if you're at a lake and if you pick up a rock, it doesn't matter what shape the rock is. When you throw it into the water, what is the shape that the ripples are? They're circles. And so I thought that was a really cool analogy about like, it doesn't matter what shape it is. When you throw it into the water, the ripples are always circular and like moving outward. And that's kind of like similar to what a chakra is, except they live inside of our body.
They also, and I think this is so fascinating. They all have their own energetic frequency. Um, and I don't know if you guys have seen. I've seen a couple of these on YouTube and TikTok, where like some guy or woman will do an experiment where they will put like sands on a speaker and then play a specific frequency, and then the frequency turns into a design. Like the sand turns into a design in accordance to the frequency, the sound frequency. Sometimes when you look at chakras, like the chakras that are like, even if you just Google and look at some of the images of the different chakras, you'll see that each one has like a different design, or like at least a triangle. But sometimes there's a depiction of like an image associated with the chakra. That is the visual manifestation of the frequency, which I think is so, so fascinating. So if you are on YouTube and you're looking at, like, I've seen a lot of these where they have like different frequencies, sounds that you can just listen to help balance your chakras. You'll see like the one for the root chakra is a frequency that's different than the one for the throat chakra. So, also something that I thought was really, really fascinating and something to keep in mind once you start doing that chakra work.
Definitely. That is actually really cool.
Isn't that so cool? I just thought that was so fascinating.
The chakra system is so fascinating, you guys. Like it's such a great rabbit hole. It's a fun rabbit hole.
It really is, especially once you start getting into Kundalini and all that stuff. Oh my god, I could get lost in that shit for hours.
Yeah, I think you should explore your fear around your Kundalini.
I don't know I have no idea what that's about.
I have no fear. I'm just like, don't take my example only because I know how to handle energy and I kind of know I do know what I'm doing. But yes, I'm that person trying to push it through. And, I had to find balance with it, with trying to push it through, but also letting it flow naturally. It does have to be worked on. For some people, it will just happen very naturally, but I think that's a very rare phenomenon. For most people, like when you feel ready, it is something that you actually have to physically work on, because there's a lot to it. It requires a lot of practice. You really have to have a knowledge and understanding of the chakra system in order to really push that through. But you shouldn't do it if you're not ready. Right. But I think Tiarra should at least explore what that fear is.
Well, I think part of it is I feel like I don't have a handle or grasp on energy like you do. Like I feel like energy just kind of rolls me. So in Chinese medicine, myself in particular, I deal with a lot of heat in my body, and I have for a really long time, and I don't really know why. So the idea of like messing with that makes me feel like I might break something. I don't know.
Oh no!
I don't know how to explain it. I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to like break it. Or make it worse. So that's why I guess maybe I'm hesitant to like, I got to figure out this heat thing. I don't know. You've dealt with heat in the body too.
Yeah, and I still haven't steered away from trying to do my Kundalini.
Okay, well, I don't know. I gotta explore.
I am really close though. Like I can communicate with my guides now. It took, the majority of my life. And my guides have said, like, your Kundalini is so close. So it's like I've already have awakened, like I've already had like very profound shifts and like awakenings. And now my guides are like, you are so close to your Kundalini. So like my spiritual journey it's never going to end, of course, but like the major shifts are almost over, which I am really looking forward to that, because it's just been a blast to my senses and body, right? Literally.
Right. So I do want to dive into each of the chakras, but before I do that, I want you to can you talk about what's going to happen? Like when you succeed and you have your Kundalini rising, what's going to happen? Do you know what's going to happen?
When my understanding of it is that when you successfully have a Kundalini awakening, you feel different. And even for some will even look different, right? Because like once you get into the higher frequencies, it's like your body can heal. And so like you might feel younger, you might look younger, but also like you just feel more aware. Like your Kundalini awakening is all about like personal awareness, outer awareness, really just being able to perceive things that maybe you weren't able to perceive before, like everything clarity, everything makes more sense. You also just unlock this bundle of knowledge. And those are some of the things that I have read, and those are some of the things that I've been told. Like those are just some of the things that you have to look forward to once your Kundalini completes.
Very interesting. Okay. I was just kind of curious about that because I know you've been trying for some time, and I'm just like, okay, what is she trying? She already knows like more than 99.9% of the population. Like, what else is she trying to get here?
You
So I
know
was just
me.
wondering.
I value knowledge, guys. This is my thing. Like
I do too.
and I want to know everything. I trust me.
Same.
I see all these things on TikTok, and I have like a whole list, and I'm like talking to, you know, archangels and like my guides and gods, and I'm just like what's happening on our planet right now, and some really fascinating stuff is coming through.
Well, and sometimes they tell us, and then sometimes they're like, "Oh, you got to figure it out," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, great."
Yeah, but we're smart enough. We'll figure it out.
Right. Um. So Ali earlier talked about the sacral chakra, which is this is second chakra. So you have your root chakra, and then like at the bottom, which I guess depending on who you talk to, the root chakra is located like,
At the base of the spine.
is that where it is? Okay, the base of the
Yes.
spine. Then you have your sacral chakra, which is like
Located
below the
below your
belly.
belly
Right.
button.
hmm And this is the one again tied to creativity, pleasure, sexuality. I've done some womb work and some womb healing work, and I see this chakra blocked in a lot of women who have dealt with pretty much any type of trauma or stress. Because in women, trauma, stress, wounding, all of that stuff gets held in the womb center or the sacral chakra. So I see a lot of blocks here when that kind of thing happens. And when that's there, you're going to struggle with creative expression. You're going to struggle with sexuality. You're going to struggle with enjoyments and pleasure and um, emotional expression. And this chakra specifically is also one that's linked to water. So if you're wanting to do, or you feel like you've got a sacral chakra blockage, I would really recommend looking into womb healing or womb healing work. If you're a woman, if you're a masculine, you could probably look into doing things like shadow work. Because again, it's similar for the masculine too. Like if you have wounding or sexual trauma, it's going to store itself in the sacral chakra. So it's going to be really important, particularly for this chakra, to do like shadow work, shadow healing, going back to that wounding, processing it, extracting the lesson, letting it go. And then you can also explore frequencies to help align the chakra as well. But this chakra requires actual work. I mean, they all do, but this one in particular is like a very specific form of work, just based on some of the experience, my experiences, and what I've seen.
I agree. And here's the thing about chakra, guys, that as complicated as it already sounds, there are three things that can happen with a chakra. They can either be not open at all, they can be open, which is where you want it to be, or they can be overactive.
Right.
Now, if the chakra obviously isn't open or if they're overactive, guess what? They don't really work to your advantage. You want it in that sweet spot right there in the middle of open.
Right. And I still haven't mastered that. So,
Either
like,
have
if you're
I.
struggling, right, if
Neither
you're
have I.
struggling with that, like, we get it. I'm just like, what? It needs to be open, but not too open, and then not too closed, but just slightly closed. And I'm just like, what? I don't. Okay.
It's hard. It takes a lot of work. And here's the thing. They want, like, the idea is for all 7 of them to be open and perfectly
Oh,
balanced.
right. Is there anyone on this planet that has achieved that? Like, really?
I actually achieved it once. And then my next visit to my acupuncturist, he was like, "What happened?" He was like, "Your last visit, everything was open and like my body was feeling great." And then my next visit, it was like all over the board. He was like, "Oh, great. So you went from like being open and aligned to like my throat being overactive, my third eye being overactive, my crown being overactive, and then my
Oh,
other chakras
God.
underactive." And I was like, I don't know how I went from like perfect to this hot mess.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to keep it in balance, but just because, life happens to you, things happen, you shift. So it's really hard to keep those chakras in perfect alignment and balance. We get it. We haven't achieved it. But it's good to be knowledgeable so that at least if there's a block, where you might need to look and how you can go about balancing it.
Definitely. So, listen, we're not perfect. We have our flaws.
Yes, we do. All of us do.
Absolutely. So, our next chakra is our solar plexus,
Yes. So this is
which
one I've had issues with for a while, actually.
I have had an overactive solar plexus for months now, and I cannot figure out why. I cannot figure out why.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Um,
interesting.
oh yeah, something else about the chakra system, you guys, is that they're color coded to the rainbow, and
Yeah.
so the root is red, the sacral is orange, the solar plexus is yellow, the heart is green, the throat is blue, the third eye is indigo, and the crown is violet.
Yes.
So the solar
Or
plexus.
white. Or white for the crown, too.
Oh, Tiara's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So the solar plexus is yellow, and it's tied to like our personal power. Tiara, what else is it tied to?
It's tied to confidence, strength, courage as well. Um, and it's also a chakra that's quite masculine. So, like the sacral is feminine, watery. Solar plexus is masculine, like more fiery. So, oftentimes when this one is overactive or out of balance, you might see digestive issues. You might see issues with the kidneys. You might see excessively masculine characteristics. So maybe leaning more heavily into logic or being analytical or being competitive. Um, Exceptionally so. Like, I mean, I was all of this. Like, I'm not going to lie. This is probably why I've had an issue with the solar plexus chakra. I was quite
Same.
masculine, heavily
Same.
competitive. Like, I was like the type of person I was like, oh, I'm going to steal your job because I'm better than you. Like, that was me for like 15 years. Um,
Dang.
oh, I was a shark, man. Freaking shark. So, so yeah, it's a chakra that often needs to be tamed, and me and Ali haven't quite figured that out because I'm still having issues with my solar plexus, and I don't know.
I don't know either. Like I said, I don't even think my acupuncturist knows. He's like, I don't understand. And I was like, look, I have a lot. I do. I do have a lot of masculine energy. I think it is tied to the fact that I grew up with 2 older brothers, and like I grew up in a very masculine household. And
Mm,
I think mine developed from childhood.
okay, I mean that makes sense. For me, I think it was just like a self worth thing. So I was just like, I felt like I needed to prove myself to myself kind of thing. And so I just grasped onto that and just became overly competitive. I also was a bodybuilder for a long time because it was so competitive. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Because I was just into that. Like, what can I do to be more competitive? Like, that was my energetic state.
Oh, I love
Um,
competitive sports. Like I was a gymnast for many years, and gymnastics is a very competitive sport.
Absolutely. So, again, this is often a chakra that needs to be tamed. Um, But there are things you can do, like, I the frequencies on YouTube you can listen to balance out the chakras a little bit. Some people say, and I don't know, I haven't tried this technique, but that you can eat foods associated with the colors of the chakra to balance that specific chakra. I have not tried that, but apparently it's a thing. I don't know.
I think it is a thing. I haven't tried it either, but I have done research on it. And I mean, some people swear by it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Hmm. Okay, I might explore that just specifically for the solar plexus chakra because that one's got some issues. Um, the next one is the heart chakra, which is tied to love, compassion, kindness, understanding. This is a chakra that's blocked in a lot of people too. And it's the one that once you have your awakening, depending on what stage you are in your awakening, is gonna blast open. Like that happened to me. Well, not immediately after my awakening. I want to say maybe a couple months after it kind of blew open. And like it kind of makes sense that it'd be blocked because we live in a world where it's just like everyone's so hardened and it's just like you got to protect yourself and protect your heart from getting hurt and people are mean and you can't trust anyone and it just kind of develops. A lot of people that have trauma from their childhood, they were hurt, have blocked heart chakras. So it makes sense, but at the same time, if you want to raise your frequency and your vibration, you can't do that with a blocked heart chakra. Like you just can't. So um, once mine started to open, I started just feeling this wave of different emotions that I had blocked myself from for a long time. Um, and that's how it felt for me. It might feel similar to some of you guys who are also going through opening your heart chakra. Oftentimes, the heart chakra will just blow open by itself. Um, Usually, it's divinely inspired or divinely guided. So maybe you've got like a guide or someone who's like trying to help you open that. But once it does open, you will feel a flood of very beautiful emotions. At least that's how it was for me.
The heart chakra is kind of the gateway to your upper chakras. And if you
Oh,
don't
that's a good
open
way of putting it.
it is. And if you don't, if the heart chakra is not open, it's going to be really hard to activate the upper chakras. If you have an awakening from like the Kundalini, you rise up from the root to the crown. The heart chakra is like the gateway. Lucky for me, I had the awakening from like up to down. And so honestly, I probably wouldn't be where I am today if it had been the opposite. Because the heart chakra, I felt like was kind of the last chakra for me to really open up.
Yeah.
And so it really depends on your experience. It really depends on everyone's how it happens for you. I think I just got really lucky. But yeah, the heart chakra for me was just I had a lot of wounding and I carried a lot of trauma and I just wasn't ready to take it head on or deal with it. And so it kind of just, I locked it up inside and I threw away the key. So I'm really fortunate that the awakening for me happened from the up to down because without that, I probably, like I said, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and your experience, I think, checks out with a lot of people who have had trauma and hurt from their childhood or past. I don't know why, it just tends to block the heart chakra, like really, really block it. So some of you guys might need to put in conscious effort to open it back up. And there are things that you can do, as we mentioned before. But if you're really, really struggling, you might want to look into getting some spiritual coaching to help navigate you through some of those past hurt and past traumas. Um, because I know that that's proven to be effective for both me and Ali.
Agreed. So the next chakra is the pesky, I call it the pesky, the
Oh
pesky throat
no.
chakra. The throat chakra is like the empowerment of your voice and it's it's just it's been really hard when you live in a matrix because people, the government and the news and corporate offices and bosses, and when you have someone to report to, they are doing everything they can to silence you. They don't want to empower you. They work really hard to kind of turn you into a minion and like do what they say and follow the rules and do this, and they kind of take away your voice and they kind of take away your individuality. And unfortunately, that's what the 3D matrix is all about. And so a lot of people have just lost, their voice. They've lost their individuality, and that all comes from the throat chakra.
Yes. Another interesting thing about the throat chakra, and I didn't learn this till later, is that it's also not only associated with communication, but also with listening. So if you have this thing where you don't listen to people, or like you refuse to, hear other people authentically, you're going to have a throat chakra blockage. I know for myself, I had an issue that Ali was describing, in that I struggled with authentically expressing myself and my truth because I had fear in regards to how the matrix would react. And I think Ali had something similar. Did you have something similar? Because I thought we were like going through the same thing at the same time.
I did have something similar, on like to the point where I was like, well, I don't want to talk about that because people are gonna want to throw me into a loony bin.
Right, exactly. And I think this is a really common thing with people who have awakens. Um, and I actually developed and I'm still dealing with it, like physical stuff associated with the throat chakra. So I developed nodules on my thyroid, which
Same.
I'm still dealing with. Like I'm still dealing with
Same.
those. Oh my god! Right.
Yes,
So like stuff like that will happen if you're dealing with a throat chakra blockage.
Yes, it was so funny. The first time I actually saw, I love my acupuncturist. I'm sorry to talk about him, but like I've gone to get like my annual physical, and then directly after I had my first appointment with my acupuncturist, and it's so ironic because I had my appointment and my doctor had found like a little node. Like she's like, I think you have a node. And so like they sent me into ultrasound. It found out that I did have a nodule on my thyroid. And ironically enough, I had gone to my acupuncturist and he was like, I see a bulge, like a small bump coming out of your neck. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And he was just like, I think you have a nodule. And so I went and got the ultrasound, and then they confirmed that I had a nodule. And he was like, yeah, he was like, you got some serious issues with your throat chakra. And
Oh
I was like,
god.
great. What do I do? And he was like, well, he was like, it can be healed. Luckily, it was benign. So that's great. And so he was like, yeah, he was like, you just have to really work on opening your throat chakra. He was like, I'm also going to put you on some medication, and then when in future visits, like we'll work on it through acupuncture. And so it's been an ongoing story of trying to solve the nodule problem.
Yeah, funny thing, I also have nodules, and mine were like bigger and like more complex than Allie's, and they were like, you need to get these, what's it called? Where they stick the
Removed?
needle. No. Where they stick the needle in, biopsy. They're like, you need to get
Biopsy.
these. Yeah. And I didn't want to. I don't know what it was. Like there was just like this reflexive rejection of the idea of getting biopsied. So I haven't done it. I'm hoping it's not like cancer because I have no fucking idea.
You still haven't gone? Okay, that's a whole other issue that we're going to talk about.
No, I haven't gone because I didn't want to. I didn't want to do it. So I am managing it though with I'm using castor oil. Castor oil compress at night on the thyroid is supposed to help reduce nodules. So I've been doing that. Seems to be helping.
Interesting. Okay. Like I said, we're gonna talk after. The next chakra is your third eye. And I absolutely love this chakra. This is like my gateway to like my whole being and my whole identity. The third eye chakra is in between your eyebrows. And it's like I can never say this right, the what is it? Pineal
Pineal,
gland?
pineal
Pineal?
glands. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it is the gateway to our intuition. It's more than that. It's like it's how I'm able to, see auras and see beings and see things like snakes, and it's just so cool. I love it.
Yes. So this chakra is tied to imagination, um, intuition, and if you're struggling with being intuitive or feeling like you're not very intuitive at all, you probably have a third eye chakra blockage. Because as Ali said, this is the chakra from which you gain your intuitive insights, and then you can also see things intuitively. Or like when you see visions, or if you see like imagery, all of that stuff is coming through the third eye, which is so cool. It's actually really, really, really cool. Um, and I know
It
you, Ali, have struggled with it being too open. I feel like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I usually have an overactive. I don't think any of my chakras are closed. I usually have an overactive chakra issue, and most of them are always in the upper chakras because I
Mm.
use them like I also am a dreamer, and so like I use them day and night, all day and all night.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
Oh,
don't
Ali
really
had a
get a
total
chance
medical
to.
emergency.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you can talk about my medical emergency.
Ali had a total medical emergency with her third eye chakra, which was probably my fault, so my bad. Um, but it was just straining so, so, so badly. So I actually went and called upon an archangel to do some energy healing work specifically for that chakra. And it was like letting off a steam valve, like all this pressure just releasing from the third eye chakra. And it just blew my freaking mind
It blew both
that
of our minds.
I know. I was just like, what? It was just so incredible. Um, but apparently that kind of stuff can happen. Even with any of the chakras, I'm sure that that's possible. Um, Speaking of that, I think I'm going to explore that healing method a little bit more and like maybe focus on just the chakras.
Yeah, I love that idea. I have been looking into gaining this healing powers from this archangel. I've been working with my guides and some of the archangels on getting that started, but it's a skill I am definitely open and willing to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this next chakra is probably my favorite. It is the one at the top of the head, referred to as the crown chakra. And this is the chakra that is our spiritual connection or establishes the spiritual connection to the other realms. And this is a chakra that me and Ali both use quite frequently. I get the impression that like a lot of the downloads and stuff comes through this chakra. Um, and oftentimes when we're channeling, I feel like it's the crown chakra, but also the third eye, but mostly the crown, just because I've had a crown chakra blockage before, and let me tell you that I was getting nothing. Like nothing was
Really?
coming through. Remember when I had that blockage?
Oh,
And
when
everything was going to you, like all my guides
yeah,
and like
when you lost your gifts, right?
yes, it was essentially a crown chakra blockage because I was asking about it and they were like, it's your crown, it's your crown, it's your crown. Um,
They turned off her crown.
right. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess Allie's gonna be my crown chakra. And they literally, like, she literally was like, all the information meant for me, meant for me was going to her. The poor thing. I'm so sorry. Um, But that'll happen if you have a crown chakra blockage. If you're a spiritual person and you're used to like being connected, if your crown is blocked, all of that's going to stop. If it's overactive, you're going to probably get more stuff than you want. And I
Yep.
do think an overactive crown can also cause like hallucinations, psychosis, that kind of thing too. I believe. Um, Underactive crown, the impression I get is that it's like you struggle with the spiritual connection or you might question it. And I could see that leading to an underactive crown. But oh yeah, like if you're a spiritual person, you need to make sure that that crown is managed and open. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad time.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at anyone's pain. That was just funny. That just kind of came out of nowhere.
That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah, the crown. I don't really focus that much on the crown. I know my crown is open, and I also know that it's also overactive because I get so many downloads from everywhere. Things that I don't even care about, I know things about, and I'm just like, why do I have to know that? Why is that important? The universe just tells me things, guys.
Right. So there are actually a couple more chakras above the crown. I'm just gonna mention them very briefly to complete the 12. So above the crown is the soul star chakra, which connects you to your higher self. And then you have the spirit star chakra, which is spiritual wisdom. Above that is the universal chakra, which connects you to pure consciousness. And then there's the galactic chakra, which is divine knowledge. And then the very, very, very highest one here above the head is the divine gateway chakra, which is tied to universal consciousness. So, my understanding is that these other extra chakras don't need to be managed or maintenance. It's the 7 that we mentioned initially, the root to the crown, that need to be maintenance, is how I understand it.
The 7 definitely need to be maintenance. The higher and even the one below us, which is, I think, what did I say it was earlier? The Earth one?
The Earth star?
The Earth star. Those don't need to be managed. I do chakra readings, and so like my deck has the 9 chakras, including like the main 7 plus the Earth star and the Soul star. And I think once you get to once you have access to the Soul star, depending on the way that you balance your other 7 chakras, is an indication of the higher chakras and the information that a person can receive. So they really are all tied together, but you really need to focus on the main 7, but also the bottom one and the star are just as important, but that's like advanced chakra work.
Yes. So, I mean, that makes total sense what you said about how connected you are will determine the information you receive.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense.
So that's why I do those chakra readings. But there is so much more to chakras, guys, and we've already been talking for like 48 minutes. So
oh my god, I know we didn't even get to the 114.
I know. So
and like, how did they come up with 114 chakras? Like,
okay, you want the math real quick? Okay, so the math. I'm going to break this down really quickly, and I'm sorry if this doesn't make any sense. So there are 114 chakras in the human body, and they are split into 7 major chakras. So within those 7 major chakras, you have 21 minor chakras, and you have 86 micro chakras.
All right.
So it's also becoming an increasing common. Oh, wait, no. It's also becoming increasingly common to hear about the 12 chakras. So there are 12 technically about the ones that Tiarra just listed. And then from the 7 major chakras, within those 7, you have 21 minor chakras, and then you have 86 micro chakras.
Oh,
and
goodness.
Yeah. And so all like the minor chakras and the 86 chakras actually play a very important role into the 7 major chakras on whether or not they're overactive or they're blocked or underactive. So there is so much that goes into this that, like I said, it's a whole study. If you are interested in this topic, you guys should definitely like hit the internet, get some books, because this is our universal life force. This is why this is one of my favorite topics ever. And so I highly recommend that you do some research if you guys find this just as fascinating as I do.
Absolutely. So, yeah, total chakra rabbit hole. We just barely started digging. If you want to dive into that, please do some research. Go to Google. There's stuff on YouTube too. Um, but yeah, there's just so much fascinating information about the chakra system. And a lot of it's very, very helpful and valuable if you're on that spiritual journey. So definitely do some additional research. I see us probably doing another topic on chakras, possibly, because I'm fascinated by this 114 thing, which, could probably easily be like a two-part series.
Definitely. No, it
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
can be. And then if we dig further into a Kundalini, and there's so many different things that are tied to chakras, and like our own, and just everything in like within our personality and the way that we behave and emotions and physical abilities and everything about our health really is all tied to our universal life system, which is the chakra system.
And our aura too. Chakras affect your aura, how they're functioning
And we're going to
will
have a
affect your aura.
whole other topic about that.
Yes, absolutely. We were going to try to tie that into this, but it's already been 50 minutes. So we'll make that a separate podcast episode.
Thank you so much, guys. We promise to be lighter. I'm sorry if we kind of got all over the board in the beginning. It's just there's so much to talk about, but we'll work on organization.
Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys know where to find us online. If not, you can reach us at www.goddessvibrationstudio.com, and we are also on TikTok and Instagram. So please do follow, check us out, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.